Well, according to some people, my next guest is an American political activist and provocateur who founded Project Veritas. And they say he's a far-right guy with an activist group that uses deceptive editing techniques to attack mainstream media organizations and progressive groups. The truth? Project Veritas does investigative journalism that exposes the elite and far left for what they really are. And boy, do they hate it. The latest video series from Project Veritas has racked up over 45 million views on Twitter in just the last week. And it's been censored just about everywhere else. It's prompted a frantic response from one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world. Would you please welcome back to the show founder and CEO of Project Veritas, James O'Keefe. James, welcome back to one of the places where you are actually loved and respected. It's not true for most talk shows, right?
Well, not like New Jersey and New York, I guess, right?
Not like that at all. What a week you've had. You've had two major disclosures of interview with a Pfizer pharmaceutical executive, and it's been explosive. Summarize for us what you really have been able to, I guess, inform the American people about.
Well, this is an undercover investigation into Pfizer, a director at the organization who was caught on a hidden camera, and he was talking about how they may be mutating the virus. And he doesn't want anybody to know that Pfizer is doing this, and he says that it would be bad for the American people, but good for Pfizer. He repeatedly says, we don't want anybody to know. So this video is the most watched video in Project Veritas history, like you said, 45 million.
In a week. That's what we got to...
In 1 week.
In 1 week.
In 1 week. This is a massive, massive story, perhaps one of the biggest stories ever because it affects everyone. It's gone global.
Yeah.
And the American media has not really covered it. The legacy media won't touch it.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask. How many minutes has CBS, ABC, NBC given to this story? Because it is a huge story.
Well, as we say at Project Veritas, they are brought to you by Pfizer. There's a commercial imperative that dominates major media, and there tends to be a nexus there that I think prevents the major media from covering stories like this. Pfizer did put out a statement on Friday night, and they didn't deny our revelations. They didn't deny this man worked for him. In fact, we obtained documents within Pfizer showing that Jordan Walker works for Pfizer, but media refuses to sort of ask the questions and do the reporting. So they just don't cover it, but 40 million people have watched the video.
You know, one of the things that I find so very disturbing, James, is that when Project Veritas comes out with a video like this one, and it is disturbing to watch, it is, because you think, have we been completely snookered? I mean, why didn't they just tell us the truth? And some of the truth was they didn't know what all the effects would be. You know, it could have been an honest mistake, but they didn't tell us. And now that they know there could be some issues, they still aren't telling us. But when it gets out in the news, it's not that they want to cover what you were able to expose. They always want to say, but his methods,
right?
His methods were unethical. So let's talk about your methods. These are people who cough up this information to you. How do you go about getting somebody to say the things that are as truthful as they seem to be, and they're saying it out of their own mouth? How's that happen?
Well, first of all, they don't know that they're being recorded, and they don't know that the person they're talking to is a journalist. And traditionally, in journalism, you identify yourself, hi, I'm Jones from the Washington Post.
Yeah.
But people are not going to be honest with you if you do that. So we use hidden cameras. We build rapport with these subjects. We take a few meetings with them. Sometimes we meet them on the street. Sometimes we meet them at conferences. We meet them online. Sometimes we get a tip. Sometimes we have a whistleblower. And like we had in this story, where people on the inside give us information that helps corroborate the story. This is what investigative reporters do. But something happened in journalism in the last 30 to 40 years. And it used to be that people would sort of run towards the powerful with a camera, or with like Mike Wallace before I was born with the microphone. But now it seems like the legacy media represents the people in power and run towards all of you distributing their message to you. So it's all been so twisted. So the only way to untwist it is to utilize these techniques so that we can see the truth, not just through anonymous sources or according to people familiar with the situation. You can see the guy's lips moving when he says it.
So when you confronted Dr. Walker, an employee of Pfizer, and this first came out, he was not exactly happy about this. Is that an understatement?
Understatement of the century.
Yeah. In fact, he was screaming and yelling at you when you personally confronted him. I saw the video. I thought he was going to attack you physically. I really did.
He assaulted our crew.
Yeah.
He physically. This is one of the most riveting and extraordinary things you'll ever see. That video has 15 million views or so. And I walk into the pizza restaurant. I sit down. Remember the old Chris Hansen To Catch a Predator stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I sat down. I said, "Is this seat taken?" He gets up. He says, "I'm literally a liar." So he's telling me that he's lying, but he's asking me to believe him in that moment that he's telling the truth. And then he attacks the iPad that has the videos on it. He starts smashing the iPad on the ground, assaults the camera crew, and calls the NYPD. And then the owners of the restaurant lock the doors with us inside, which arguably is some type of false imprisonment, before they unlock the doors and we leave. This is amazing video. But it shows that he's caught, and he doesn't like the fact that he's caught, and he got violent.
What has Pfizer said? As you said before, they didn't deny that he worked for them. Are they saying, look, everything he said is just nonsense?
They put out this statement Friday night. It was 8 o'clock about a week ago. And it's interesting they put it out on Friday night. It took them 2 days to put out this statement. And it was sort of a non-denial denial. They admitted that they were doing some things with mutation. They didn't address his employment. They've never confirmed his employment. But they made some admissions. It was a kind of an admission, although it was sort of buried in gobbledygook. But you could see it in there in the text of the statement they put out. And then 30 minutes after that, YouTube takes down the video. YouTube takes down the video, and YouTube, which is owned by Google, says that there's some misinformation in the video that violates WHO and scientific guidelines. And I wasn't making any claims in this video. I'm quoting the Pfizer guy. So it doesn't make sense to take down a video of the guy at Pfizer making these statements.
This is their own guy talking about this.
It's not Mike. They're going to say it's James O'Keefe's claim. Project Veritas doesn't make any claims. We report things in an extraordinarily transparent way because you can see the people's faces. We don't ask you to trust me. You show it. But they focus on the techniques because that's the only thing they can focus on. The story's so bulletproof that they have to attack the messenger.
This is not stuff that you said. This is stuff he said. And some of it was stunning that they have some concerns at Pfizer. This is what he revealed, that there are some medical conditions long-term that are related to the vaccine. What are some of those that he talked about?
Well, the most recent video we talked about women's fertility being affected by the vaccine, and very concerned about that. This guy was mRNA scientific planning expert. This is no low-level employee. This guy's a Yale educated. He's got his doctorate. He's 3 steps below the CEO of the company. He's talking about mutating the virus. He's talking about we don't want anybody to know that we're doing that, so we can develop a new virus and combat what's going on. He talks about experimenting on animals, which I found very unusual because I wonder where PETA is. Putting the virus in monkeys and having them infect other monkeys. And he says that this is all very good for Pfizer and very bad for America. That was interesting.
I saw that quote, and I had to read it 2 or 3 times to make sure that I understood right. Good for Pfizer, bad for the American.
And that's what the story is really about. It's about deception. Because I'm not a scientist, and I don't claim to have a position on any of this. My job is to expose liars, cheats, and thieves. And when a pharmaceutical executive is telling our journalists repeatedly, please don't tell anybody that I'm saying this to you. Now, a lot of people say, well, he was just trying to impress a guy that he was on a date with. And I say, what type of person impresses a guy by bragging about a biological weapon that harms people and mutating viruses? And the fact that he reacted the way that he did, caught smashing an iPad. This is a doctor.
Yeah.
And if these are the people that are running our medical scientific communities in this country, I mean, as Dr. Malone said, the gentleman seems to have no moral compass whatsoever. And it's all sort of revealed on video.
I think all of us understand that when we take any kind of medication, whether it's something as new as the COVID vaccine or whether it's something that's been around a while, there are certain risks that we take. And it's one of those risks that we make an informed decision about. We talk to our doctor, and he may say, look, I don't know that the medicine is perfectly safe, but this medicine may save your life, so you decide and which is worse. But there are times when the cure becomes worse than the malady. What he was telling your undercover reporter was that there were things they knew, and they were going into what is commonly called gain-of-function research,
right,
where they're trying to figure out what happens if. That's a scary term that we've been hearing about Wuhan. What you revealed through this video was that's happening here.
And he called it something other than gain of function.
So what was his?
He called it directed evolution.
Okay.
And this is something we've seen at Project Veritas, where subjects tend to change the language of what they're doing, and they think that by changing the terminology, that they can change the substance of what they're doing. Although many doctors have reported on this video, Dr. Malone, including him, have said, well, that is gain of function. And we did a story in Georgia, last month, where the guy says, as long as I don't call it critical race theory, I can still do it if I call it something else. So this Pfizer executive called it directed evolution, which was the hashtag that we used in the video, which is again, if Pfizer wants to do these things, my belief is they should just be honest to the customers.
Yeah.
So that everyone knows what they're getting them. It's the dishonesty that I don't like, and it's the dishonesty that makes this such a massive story. And the fact that no American media is covering this except, here, you guys are covering it, but no CBS, NBC, ABC, Forbes, a Forbes writer wrote an article attacking Project Veritas, and it turns out this guy was somehow affiliated with Pfizer. So it's a sacred cow. It's important people know, and the public has a right to know what this guy is saying.
They need to watch the videos for themselves. They can make their own conclusions. I like what you said, that look, it's not that Pfizer is engaged in even risky research. We understand that's part of the process of developing life-saving vaccines. But our government told us, in some cases, we had to take one of the vaccines, or we could lose our jobs. Military people were thrown out of the military for refusing the vaccine, and now we're finding out that they really didn't have a clue what the impact was going to be on human life.
And apparently there's a lot of people inside Pfizer that there's a culture inside Pfizer that's not healthy. And a lot of the people have reached out to Project Veritas with documents.
Yeah.
We published some documents from within Pfizer corroborating Jordan Tristan Walker's identity. Not just his LinkedIn page, but his internal Microsoft Teams pages showing the chain of command inside Pfizer. And American media was attacking, well, we can't confirm whether this guy works for Pfizer. I have the source documents in the company. So there's sort of a dilemma where people refuse to accept the reality. And that's why what Project Veritas does is so important, because we show people the reality. And 45 million people have watched the video. That's a lot of people. I think we're changing people's perceptions of the world around them.
James, what you do is an incredible service to the people of America and the world to reveal what a lot of the legacy media is afraid to even go near. We love having you, love the revelations that you bring. You let us make our own decisions about what we see and how we want to respond to it. But you give us truth that we're not getting anywhere else. And I think I speak for all of us saying thank you very, very much. Now, for our audience, I have a feeling you're going to want to learn more and see more of the undercover videos that Project Veritas has done. We have all the links for you over at Huckabee.tv, plus how to keep up with James O'Keefe on social media.